Gentlemen, the time has come once again to discuss things.
Okay. Anyway, you ready to go ahead and get started? Alright. Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of Geeky Gentlemen. I am Sid Part 2. Joining me today is who?
It's your boy, Rasco.
Shaboy. Rasco, tell the people what they need to know about the episode.
Oh, fuck. Do you mean the...
Just the whole thing, just all of it. It's all on you, buddy.
Alright, let me try to piece this together. Okay, here's part of it. If you would like to see an older episode of Geeky Gentlemen, you can leave a comment, and it will be uploaded. You can find older episodes of Geeky Gentlemen in the playlist. That's all I got.
You're terrible at this. Okay. You can download episodes of Geeky Gentlemen. There's a link in the description to download this episode so you can listen to it on the go. If you'd like to download old episodes of Geeky Gentlemen, check out the Geeky Gentlemen playlist, leave a comment on the episode, and I'll upload it to the downloading website for you. I don't want to do that for every single episode because there's like 300 plus episodes. So check out the Geeky Gentlemen playlist to find stuff. Rasco, what are we talking about this week?
We're talking about Electrogenesis, Static Shock fan film.
Indeed, and what's funny about that is we're not supposed to be talking about that. We were initially supposed to be doing a Flash fan film that had, like, a very deceptive thumbnail.
Yeah.
So, if anyone's curious, you could, like, search for that Flash fan film, and it should be, like, the very first thing that comes up. It's, like, an image of the Flash in, like, a kneeling running position. Watched about a minute and a half of that and went, oh no, we can't do it, dude. We just can't. It would be so cruel.
Yeah.
So, yeah, go ahead and check that out, if you would like. Anyway, so Rasco had to pick this instead. Much better choice. So Rasco, what made you think of Static Shock?
I was just like trying to think of something else DC, and I don't know what it was. I think I maybe like saw Static Shock in something like recently. I don't know what it was, but I just like I don't really know.
Gotcha. No, that's cool. It's cool. I was really happy with this. I thought it was, fairly well done. I have one, like, nitpicky kind of complaint that I want to get to eventually, but story-wise, I thought this was pretty sound.
Yeah.
And acting was, not fantastic or anything, but, minimal dialogue. The actors did a pretty good job just showing me how they felt without telling me how they felt,
Yeah, so this fan film gets a lot of things right that other fan films don't, where like I feel like this is a complete film being a short film. I mean, if this was not a fan film first, it would be a short film.
Sure.
It's both. But this is actually like a complete picture, right? It's not like a scene or something like that. Like it's an actual story that they've clearly okay. So for one, what I really like about this is that it's clear that they have ideas in mind that go beyond let's just like try to do Static Shock on like our own budget. Like it's clear that they're thinking of this first as a story. Like they're not just trying to make something with Static Shock in it because Static Shock. And I really like the direction that they went with this whole like idea of like the teacher and the struggling youth and like both helping to complete each other and help each other grow at the end of the day.
Yeah, especially since like, you know, that's a story, like, Static was a character who was very much meant to be, okay, we need more diversity in our DC animated universe. Let's make a black character. And, like, he's kind of, like, I'm not sure about all the history, but I'm, like, reasonably confident in saying he was DC's replacement for Black Lightning. Because, I don't know, I'd have to look into it, but, I mean, I'm on Google, I suppose I could do that right now. Black Lightning DC. Yeah, Black Lightning basically just became Static Shock, if I'm remembering correctly. If not, Black Lightning certainly fell off the map after Static Shock rose to popularity. I don't know. I mean, he's been around even as lately as the New 52. I always assumed he was just their replacement, that Static Shock was their replacement, but it's exactly the same thing. It's a black superhero with electricity powers. And, you know, Black Lightning was part of the whole blaxploitation thing, which is, you know, had its benefits and whatnot. But it's a neat idea to use the whole black DC character and then tell a very, kind of like a story that we've seen before, right? With the, you know, teacher in the bad school area, but there's, like, the really smart kid who just wants to get away from, like, the negative elements of living in that area and stuff. And I don't know, I thought that was cool.
Yeah, like, that is, again, this kind of plays to the idea of that most superhero movies play to something else, and then they just throw the superhero element into that. Like, you could do, like, a crime drama. It can be really broad, or it can be more narrow like this. Like, this is, like, a kind of very specific type of story that we've seen done a bunch of different times with a bunch of different types of characters. Sometimes it's, like, a teacher who teaches the kids how to dance. Or, like, there's, like, I remember there was...
Yeah, how do I reach these kids?
Yeah, like, these kind of stories, this is something we've seen before, and it's cool to throw in a superhero element to that, the same way that you can do that with things like crime dramas or more like a Shakespearean family drama or, you know, just like, the list goes on. And I really like how...
There's a lot where, like, Batman Begins, in a lot of ways, is or Batman Begins and The Dark Knight are like crime dramas before they're superhero stories.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that is smart because, again, it's a story first, and, like, that's why it works. It's because it's not just, let's do a Static Shock thing because Static Shock. It's, wait, here's a really good kind of story skeleton that lends itself well to doing this type of character. So I really have to give it praise on just, like, basic concept. And then I also have to say that this it's made by someone who I think is, and I've not looked into any of the background with this, but it's made by someone who's actually a director. Like, it doesn't feel like someone who, like, really wanted to make a superhero fan film and then, like, didn't really come at it from the perspective of a filmmaker, just, like, came at it from the perspective of, I want to make a superhero thing. This is clearly coming at it from both of those angles, where it's definitely also being directed with actual filmmaker sensibilities.
Yeah, I mean, it does look pretty damn good. Not 100%. There are some shots where I don't think it looks fantastic, but it looks pretty decent.
And, yeah, I would agree with that as well. And it never feels like it's trying too hard. Like, something that gets me in so many freaking short films, fan films, this is galore. People seem to think that it is somehow creative and artsy to just do close-ups of shit. Like, like, you'll watch a scene, and it's like, the person's hand's doing something. Cut to the person's face reacting to what they're doing. Cut to another detail in the room. Cut to someone's face. And you never pull back and get to see, like, the fucking room they're in. Like, the setting of the scene. It's just a bunch of close-ups with no context to the greater whole. And this clearly is not doing that. It's showing you what you're seeing. You know where you are.
Yeah, and you need distance and medium shots for, like, establishing space so you know what's happening in a scene.
Yeah, and that is just, it's absent in so many, more so outside of fan films, and that's in so many short films on YouTube, dude. It pisses me off.
Gotcha. Yeah, I thought that was done fairly well. And I also like how it has a lot of what would otherwise be like comic booky gimmicks worked in really great ways. Because how many times have we seen, like, in a comic book movie where the hero will find kind of a, like, inane way to use their superpower? Like, this isn't in any of the Fantastic Four movies, but it's like the same kind of thing. It's like it's like the Human Torch lighting someone's cigarette, right? Mm-hmm. Like, we see that, like, inane little, oh, here's, like, a fun little silly use for the superpower. And that was in the Static Shock show when he would snap his fingers and turn the television channel. And we had that here, and but it's used in a really emotionally impactful scene. Mm-hmm. And so it's just little subtle things to, like, because you can do a lot of that with fan films, and you walk a really risky line in doing this, where, you remember that Joker Rising fan film we talked about?
Yeah.
Where it was so not a comic book, to the point where it was a crime drama with people who dressed up in costumes by the end.
Yeah.
And then, like this, it certainly is like a teacher and a youth story that's, like, pretty cliche, but that's okay, as long as you do it well. This is a teacher-youth story, but it doesn't lose its superheroic roots, and I love that about it. Mm-hmm. Okay, I want to talk about I want to talk about the effects, and then I want to talk about my nitpick, and then I thought of my other, it's not really a nitpick, it's just like, okay, that's kind of silly. Alright, so, what do you think of the integration of the electricity effects?
I thought that it could have gone for less and gotten away with it.
Okay. I thought they were used really well for as sparingly as they were used. He only does, like, 3 or 4 things in that one scene, in the fight scene, and then you get the big, fly off at the end. I thought that was used really, really well. I thought that was really intelligently integrated and handled. I will say that there's one shot where he first starts using the powers to fight the guys before he, like, takes out their car. Mm-hmm. I think that shot lasted too long as he's, like, charging up to release a bunch of energy.
I totally agree.
Everything else about the effect, like when he lights the fence up so that they can't escape, I loved the electricity surging through his eyes. I thought that looked fantastic. Like looking through it.
Yeah, okay, I'm looking at it again. I actually really like the part where he uses the fence to trap them. Mm-hmm. That looks really good. I think that, like, almost you don't necessarily even... I don't want to say you don't need the shot of him where he, like, first puts the lightning on his hands. And I'm actually watching through the scene again with the audio off right now.
Yeah, me too.
It doesn't bother me as much as it did, actually, the first time. Maybe my only thing is just the lift-off at the end. That might be the only thing I feel like they didn't need, actually, watching through it.
Oh, I really like the liftoff at the end. I think the liftoff at the end actually looks the best as far as an effects point, especially the way the lightning, like, surges out in kind of like a wave in all directions. I thought that looked absolutely fantastic.
Actually, looking through this again, so far, actually, looking back at this, actually, I don't have much issue. I think you're right. My big issue is the first shot lasts too long when he starts, like, having the lightning in his hands. Uh-huh. That shot does last too long. I think that everything that happens in that scene is fine. And I'm looking at the lift off again. It's just... It's weird because like it's not like the effect is not as good in that scene.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like that specific action isn't sold as well by the standard of the effects. Whereas like I feel like there's nothing I can really complain about with the stuff before, minus that one shot that's too long. That specific thing, maybe it was a little too stiff for me. I can't really complain about it because it's not done bad, and watching through it again, it's much better than I was giving it credit for the first time around. So my complaints are much more minimal with that, actually.
Gotcha. And I think the effects all look pretty good. Again, I think there's some timing of the first one is the biggest problem. I have my slight little nitpick. You ready?
Go ahead.
The lightning's blue, not purple. And that was also my nitpick when they started doing Static Shock in the comics. I missed the purple lightning.
Roasted.
Yeah, I just it's a silly thing. I know that is something that legitimately bugs me though. Like I prefer the purple lightning to the blue lightning. It just makes him look more distinct. Because I mean, we name another character that has purple lightning.
Purple Lightning Man.
Yeah, exactly. So, like, to be fair, it's in the comics, they do give him blue lightning, not purple. I don't care. I prefer the purple.
It's fair.
Yeah, and it's not that hard to change. Again, lightning bolt's pretty easy as far as effects, easy computer effects go. A lot of things have pre-built lightning, so that changing the color on that would not have been too difficult. It's maybe a little too cyan and not blue, as is, but whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Overall, though, that's my only, like, little complaint. One thing we didn't talk about related to the story and the way they're interacting that I was really, really happy with was when the kid finds the guy's costume and he says something to the effect of, "You're him? Man, we looked up to you. You were like you talk like us, but you showed us we'd be so much better." I really loved that moment.
Yeah, I agree. That was, again, I watched the Static Shock show,
Mm-hmm.
and yeah, you always do kind of get that vibe where Static Shock fills this kind of weird slot that's not quite filled by anyone else, where he's not he like is the Black Youth.
Mm-hmm.
He's not like he's not like an older, matured black man who's like, this is what you can mature and be. He's like, well, this is what you can be now. It's kind of the difference between Static Shock and some like older black superheroes.
Like Jon Stewart,
Yeah,
who was in that show for an episode.
Yeah, perfect example. And so I agree. That's a good little moment, and it kind of is like, let's have a moment where we get to the core of Static Shock and what kind of makes him stand out. I agree. I do like that part. Can I go ahead and get to my biggest issue?
Go for it.
Okay. My biggest issue is that at the end, when he hears the guys roll up and shoot the kid, it's weird. I don't know if I like that he didn't take action till after the gunshot goes off. Because, like, he's lucky that he could save him and fix the wound and everything, but he didn't know if they were going to shoot him there. Like, they could have shot him in the fucking face.
True, and, like, I think you could maybe justify it as he thinks the kid's exaggerating and they're not actually going to kill him. Maybe they're just going to beat the shit out of him. I think hearing the gunshot is a thing that motivates him, and I think he's at a point where, and I love how quickly we find out why he quit being static. It's so fast, and it just goes by in an instant, but it's all you need. I think hearing the gunshot is what brings him out of it, because he's been on the sidelines. He's like, I wasn't able to save someone that was, I think they were supposed to be close to him. I wasn't able to save someone close to me. I'm not going to keep doing this. I'm not going to keep going out there and fighting people when it's not getting me anywhere. So I like the idea of he's going to just sit on the sidelines and let what people choose to do with their lives happen. And importantly, he tells this kid, stop dealing. And what does the kid keep doing? Dealing. That's a problem. And so, like, he's got this in his mind that I'm not here to be your bodyguard. But it is the fact that they try to kill him, or at the very least intentionally shoot him, that is enough to break him and go, okay, no, I can't just sit by anymore. I need to be involved again. I don't know. I think it worked. What are your thoughts with those contexts, I guess?
I agree. I do like the personal responsibility angle, where it's like, people are going to do what they do. I can give them advice, but if I take it into my own hands, do people necessarily learn their lesson? And does that really change anyone when it comes to, like, the overarching, or not the overarching, when it comes to the big picture?
Mm-hmm.
Like, all you can do is give people advice. They're going to do what they want. Does being static shock actually change anything? And by the end, it's maybe. Like, maybe it does. Again, like, people are going to do what they want to do. They're always going to make decisions, but their circumstance is what's putting them down that path. And, like, he is in the same place right now. Like, there are things he could be doing that he's not because of something else. It's his circumstance. No one else would understand from the outside. And you can either change and course correct, or you can not. And the other thing, though, is that you can personally take action to give the opportunity for other people to course correct. And so that's what I like about the end of this.
Mm-hmm.
My whole thing is just, like, that scene, it's just, like, it's funny because it's one of those things where, like, if something slightly different happened, you get a much different ending, and it's kind of like, oh, that's messed up. Like, they could have shot that kid in the face.
They definitely could have, and honestly, it's one of those things where I'm like, I don't think it mattered that he was able to save him. I think the point was he needed something, he needed to be on the line right there as someone could have died, and he could have done something to stop it. It's a very different ending, but I think regardless of whether or not the kid lived or died, he would go on to be a superhero again. He needed, like, because you get this idea that, you know, he just goes home after school. He's trying to be a positive force in the community still and stuff, but after school he just leaves and he kind of shuts himself off, or at least that's the impression I got. So I don't think he's been around a crime when he could have done something about it since. And I think that's an important distinction. So
yeah, that's fair. Like, you know, if it's the whole, like, when I intervene, people get killed. Well, this is an example of, like, it does. If this is like what he does is an over course correction where it's like, well, can't save everyone, so I'll save no one. And then it's like, well, we'll see what that gets you. Like, you just went to another extreme, and the same thing can happen now, just the reverse. You'll save no one, and you won't be in as many predicaments where you could have saved someone because you're not going out and actively trying to save people. But at the same time, when the opportunity comes, like, are you going to just say, I've resigned, this is me now, I'm not going to do anything more than another person could? Well, the thing is, you're not a normal person. You have the ability to intervene, so if you don't, are you responsible? No, not 100%. The person got themselves into that situation. But at the same time, you have the opportunity to, you know, get back out there, do something more than just give advice. You can actually take action, and I do like everything that happens there. You're swaying me more on the ending. And I don't know. It's definitely at least a moment.
I mean, it's a little maybe too ambiguous, especially because the more I think about what I said, where he probably just thinks they're going to beat the shit out of him, I take that back, because when he shows up at the guy's house, he's obviously been shot.
Oh, you're right.
I take that back a little bit. He does have reason to believe this kid will be shot, and I do think just hearing the gunshot, thinking that he sat by and listened to someone die, I think that is enough for him to decide to take action.
It's fair. It's not as big of a problem as I'm making it out to be. At least it, like, creates a discussion. And at the end of the day, he doesn't have to be a person that doesn't do anything questionable, right? Like, that's, even if, you know, like, I'm more complaining, my complaint really doesn't make that much sense when I'm talking, because I'm talking about it as, like, it bothers me he didn't do the right thing soon enough, whereas, like, that's okay, right? Like, it's okay that he didn't do the right thing soon enough, because that's humanity, I guess, right? Like, we don't always choose to do the right thing when it's convenient and when it's necessary and right when it needs to be done. Sometimes we put it off a minute. Bad things could have happened. They didn't hear, but that's a lesson for the next time, right? Like, this time he got lucky. The kid wasn't shot in the fucking face. Next time, if he acts this way, it might not be the same situation that he's dealing with after he kicks the ass of these people.
Yeah, and I think that's the realization, right?
Yeah, like, he got lucky there.
Okay, the other, like, small thing I wanted to complain about that's just silly is the letter of recommendation at the end. I'm not a fan of this show, but I will admit everything has its moments, right?
Yeah.
So in an episode of The Big Bang Theory, Sheldon doesn't have an ID, but he does have an official membership to the Justice League of America signed by Batman that he tries to use. And so I'm kind of reminded of that with this, like, letter of recommendation that he gets, because it's signed Static Shock of the Justice League. So, like, if I try to give, like, a letter like that, are people going to believe him?
I don't know.
It's, like, kind of like it's a cool, resonant moment in the moment, but, like, when you try to think of the practicality of handing someone a letter of recommendation signed by an anonymous superhero.
Yeah, the other thing is, like, I don't understand if that's, like, actually more valuable to him than if it had just been the teacher.
I don't know, because, like, will that guarantee him a place in the college, or will, like, because, I don't know, like, put yourself in the shoes of the person, you know, reviewing scholarships and admissions to a college, right?
Yeah.
Someone gives you a letter, it's a really good letter, but it's signed by someone who you have no way to confirm with. Whatsoever. Huh?
Yeah, no, yeah, that's what I'm saying, like, it probably would have been more valuable if he had just written a letter of recommendation as a teacher.
Yeah, exactly, and that's why it's funny.
Yeah.
Also, just I'm complaining about this thing, but to the film's credit, I like that they actually talk about real science. You know, it's really abstract as science with chaos theory, and they're really brief about it. But they do talk about real science, which is something the show and the comics did too. And I appreciate that.
Yeah. The only thing I'll complain about with that scene is the way it starts. It, like, starts at a really awkward, like, mid-sentence question or something like that.
Oh, okay.
I'd have to go back and watch for specifically what happens. It's just like a weird, like, now we're in this scene moment. You could do the, like, we cut to a scene that's already begun to play out and you're just getting into it when it's relevant. But, like, specifically the sentence that is being put out, and specifically, like, it's just like the moment we enter that scene is just awkward. It maybe feels like they cut off too much. I don't know. This is a really tiny complaint. I just had to bring that up because I did take note of that when that scene happened when I watched this. I was like, that was strange.
Gotcha. No, I mean, that happens. It's like the people making this know what they're doing, but they're not, like, huge experts, right? I think that would be fair to say. They know what they're doing. They've got an idea of, like, how filmmaking works, but they're not amazing at it. They're strictly speaking competent, and I don't mean that to sound negative. There are shots that look really good. There are shots not so much. There's a little bit of an issue with pacing and the editing, because, like we said, that one shot lasts too long. that moment cuts in too early, stuff like that. It's far from a perfect film, but I think it's still quite a bit better than a lot of fan films as far as an editing, acting, directing, filmmaking standpoint. So
yeah, it's definitely got like all the tools there. It's just a matter of like how. It's a matter of like
screws need tightened a little bit.
Yeah. But everything is here for like future project. Like I would imagine that like whatever the next thing this person makes, they've clearly demonstrated an understanding of all of these things. It's just a matter of like how do they use this understanding to excel at those things moving forward. I'd love to see like something else they've made after this.
Well, you know, there is a YouTube channel. Videos. All Quiet on the Home Front. U.S. Asians in World War I? Short film. So you got that.
Okay, I will definitely check that out.
Yeah. And then they got some other channels they've subscribed to. I'm not sure if they're like involved with projects on those or what. Anyway, yeah, I recommend checking that fan film out, people. It's not got a ton of attention. Come on, thing. Work with me here. I mean, 133,000 views, nothing to scoff at, but the person's only got like 400 subs, so yeah, I recommend checking it out. It's worth your time. Okay. You want to go on to ratings then?
Yeah, I guess we can.
Alright. I'll give this, I think I'm going to go 3.5 lightning fences out of 5.
I'm gonna give this 4 out of 5 Chaos Theories!
Okie day then. Alright. So everyone, thank you very much for watching that review. Next week, we'll be talking about a really old fan film. Like, it's a lot older than I thought it was.
Oh boy.
We're going to talk about The Death of Batman from 2003.
Oh shit, I think I know what this is.
Yeah, you do. So yeah, we're going to talk about that. Steve will be joining us next week, hopefully. He says he will, so ideally Steve will be joining us to talk about The Death of Batman. Alright, everyone, thank you very much for watching. Until next time, I'm the Philosopher.
And I am the beta male cuck.
And we are your geeky gentlemen, and we'll be discussing things.